So what's up, guys? My goal is to try to start back up this idea of doing metal reviews, and I thought, well, what's a really good way to kick this back off than what's better than the new Metallica album, 72 Seasons. I just bought it this morning. As far as I'm concerned, Metallica, I don't really get super duper excited about what they do anymore. And it all kind of started with that infamous Saint Anger. But I have noticed that out of like the past 20 years, and yes, it has been 20 years since Saint Anger, I have noticed that Metallica has kind of been on the upswing since. Every album that's come out has been a little better and a little better. Death Magnetic, while I wouldn't call it a perfect album whatsoever, it at least was listenable. At least they were trying to make something that sounded actually pleasing. While I'm not going to do a full review of everything pre-72 Seasons, post-Saint Anger or anything right now, but I just will say that Death Magnetic started something good. While it had its own problems, mainly with production, Hardwired, the self-destruct, kind of built on that and fixed the problems that was wrong with Death Magnetic. The production was a lot better. The songs were more solid. A lot of the fat was trimmed. So it was a lot easier to listen to and enjoy. However, this new album, 72 Seasons, obviously they came out of nowhere with Lux Eterna, a brand new song. They just surprised us with us all. And I really wasn't thinking about or caring about what the next Metallica... Of course, I'm always interested a little bit because it's Metallica, one of the first bands I started listening to that actually played thrash metal and kind of introduced me to that kind of metal. But I have to say, 72 Seasons, as I should say, Lux Eterna caught me off guard. It was a good song. It wasn't the kind of song I would have dreamed Metallica would have come out with, but it worked. I think it was good. I heard the new wave of British heavy metal in it. I liked that a lot. The production was really good. And then one of the things I noticed was James sounded extra good. He sounded really youthful. And so the song kind of stuck out pretty well to me. I thought, this is interesting. Okay. Then they released a few more singles. I kind of had the same feeling. I heard the new wave of British heavy metal influence. And I just kind of noticed these songs are pretty good. Like, I feel like they're stronger than they were on Hardwired. But now the album has dropped. And I have the CD. And I've listened to the whole thing. Only one time. So I'm just going to give you my first time listening experience with this album. And I can tell you, it's fun. I enjoy it. Is it without its problems? Is it perfect? I wouldn't say it's perfect, but it's very good. It's the best thing they have done thus far since at least the Black Album. And while most of the Black Album, I'll be honest, I'm really bored with because these songs are overplayed, I probably even like it better at this point than the Black Album. So, all right. So what do I think? So it starts off pretty great with 72 Seasons. Some people think that it just sounds like Hardwired mixed with Spit Out the Bone. Yeah, I can hear that. But now that I've heard the song a few times, it sounds... I don't know, it sounds better to me. Like, it makes sense. It feels fresh enough. It's a good song. It's a good song. I mean, it's not Battery or anything, but it doesn't have to be. This is about as good as Metallica, I think, can be you know, nowadays. So guys, I think we're not going to get Master of Puppets again. This is the best I think Metallica is going to give us, like, nowadays. So I am happy with that. See what was next on this album. I got the whole thing on here. Shadows Fall. Okay, yes. Or not Shadows Fall. Shadows Follow. That was a pretty good song. That one kind of hit me off guard. I thought it was pretty good. Then you had Screaming Suicide. You know, that had a good new wave of British heavy metal sound to it. Sleepwalk My Life Away. Now, okay, by this point on the album, I can kind of say it started off really interesting with like the bass guitar stuff, but it kind of, by this part, I thought the songs started running into each other a little bit once they got going. I think there's a lot of tempos that are similar. Like, I wish they could have switched up a lot of stuff. Like, there's a couple of songs that are on the faster side, but there's a lot of like the same tempos going on in between those songs, which to me kind of drags it down a little bit. It kind of makes the songs not pop out the way they should. But if you really take the songs for what they are, they're good. They're all memorable. But I think Sleepwalk My Life Away so far was the first one that I was kind of like, all right, it's okay. But, you know, You Must Burn, that one was interesting. I thought it kind of had, a lot of people were saying it had like a Black Sabbath type of vibe, and I can see that. I can see that. It's a good song. It's a good song. Again, I feel like a lot of the songs don't really have a whole lot of identity by this point in the album. Like, I was kind of expecting a little more by this point, but it's not bad. Then a Lux Eterna, obviously we know what that is. That's a pretty good new wave of British heavy metal style speed metal song, I guess you would call it. Crown of Barbed Wire. Okay, that one was interesting. This one kind of brought my attention back a little bit. While it's not the most, probably not the best song on the album or anything, you know, these songs, I'm starting to like how Metallica's starting to dig into that dark side, that dark sound again. And I kind of feel that from some of these songs, like Crown of Barbed Wire. Chasing Light. Okay, I've heard this song only once, and it hit me pretty hard. It was pretty surprisingly good. Had a lot of power. I don't know. It was just good. If Darkness Had a Sun, also one of the singles, I actually think is pretty good too. Too Far Gone actually surprised me. I thought that was a pretty good song. Pretty interesting, pretty memorable. Room of Mirrors. Okay, now we're finally back to a thrashy type of song. I like it. I like it. I wish there was a little more of this on the album. So really the only fast songs on this album thus far were 72 Seasons, Lux Eterna, and Room of Mirrors. Now, I would have liked a little more speed in my Metallica, but what can you say? It's, you know. Inamorata. This one caught me off guard. I've only heard it once. This one's a lot slower. I've even kind of noticed like an Alice in Chains type of vibe through some of these songs. I don't know. It's just me. I hear that, some Black Sabbath, and a lot of new wave of new wave of British heavy metal. So that's kind of what I'm getting from this. A lot of this, I hear Metallica in it, like classic Metallica, but I also hear a lot of their influences more than I hear Metallica shining through. So, okay, so now I've gone through the songs, and I've told you kind of, I didn't go into much detail. This is only my first listen. I'm just giving you a brief first listen opinion. on a lot of this, from this album as a whole. I will say this, the production is great. I love the production. I don't know, Lars sounds fine to me. The James on guitar sounds great. His vocals are better than they've been in a long time. Kirk, I think his solos are a little better here than they were on the past two albums, but they weren't. But I still hear a lot of like pentatonic wah noodling going on, but it's not bad. It works. It works. And that's kind of the theme about this album, I will say. While it's not really a masterpiece, it works. Or I feel like, as again, we're talking about this upswing, okay? Saint Anger sucked. Death Magnetic was good. Just not great. Just kind of barely good. Uncohesive, but good. Listenable. Then Hardwired, very listenable. However, the second disc was a little bland. So Death Magnetic, it's like they tried too hard. Hardwired to Self-Destruct, they didn't try hard enough. And I feel like 72 Seasons is the perfect balance of the two. So the songs they're technical enough to be interesting, but they're not so technical that they feel forced. And I feel like this is what makes 72 Seasons the best Metallica album since Saint Anger. Well, the best Metallica album since the Black Album, I should say. So there we have it. My first experience listening to this album as a whole. Bought it this morning. So yeah, maybe I'll talk about it again once I give it some more listens. Maybe my opinions change, maybe they haven't. But, yep, till next time.